Welcome to Last Week in Warframe, a series where I keep you updated on the past week of Warframe. From announcements made by DE that don't necessarily warrant their own videos to community fan art, posts, and updates. So without further ado, let's go over these announcements and news from the 31st of March to the 6th of April. Starting this week's episode off, we did have DevStream 126. The first announcement was that the console release of the Plains of Eidolon remaster will hopefully be sent into certification this week, so look out for that. Scott also talked about reworking and tweaking Vauban. I'll play that now.
He is the Trapmaster engineer. He was primed a while back, and we gave him a little bit of a mine layer update. We changed Tesla a bit.
Rework light.
Rework light, LA.
Too light.
Too light.
Too light.
So what does that mean?
I think the biggest kind of negative is the game has kind of moved on from him. So like pure CC, which is mostly what he does, is kind of been overshadowed by CC plus damage. A lot of the newer Warframes offer both in kind of one power, where a lot of his do not offer that. He's got a bunch of overlapping stuff as well, and a bunch of his utility stuff has kind of moved on from what the game used to be.
Right, like the stationary aspects.
Yeah, a lot of his stuff is very stationary, very small focused, very single target focused.
Hallway simulator back in the day.
Yep. So I think a lot of those powers suffer from just the evolution of the game. So he is. There's a document open. It has some pie in the sky ideas about a bigger rework. I think it's a total kit redo. Versus just like touching up the current powers. So I think there's going to be, some of the powers will probably refer to some of the abilities that were there before, but just touched up and updated to fit the kind of current speed of the game. One of the ideas I'm playing with is like combining the Tesla balls with the rolling drones that we have as AI in the game, so they would actually roll around and stay with you.
So you got like Octavia's little rolling thing, but
but the smaller ones that we
plan.
So looking at that kind of thing and giving them, I guess, more utility and basically making it more lethal combined with
more ballsy.
With his CC abilities.
The deluxe skin for Nyx was also showcased in-game, however there is no ETA for it. The Atlas deluxe skin cosmetics, on the other side, will possibly release this week on PC. Concept art pieces for Garuda Deluxe Cosmetics were also shown, with a Syandana and Warfan skin. Also, a new Warfan was shown through concept art with an attached Sugatra. 2 new ephemera are coming. One will be available for a limited time as a new addition for Easter. That is called the Spring Step, and that will have Easter eggs trail behind the player. The second will be tied to an achievement that is the Eidolon version, which Rebecca further commented saying that the achievement could be along the lines of 100 Eidolon captures or capture an Eidolon without dying. The Gas City remaster and the new Amalgam enemies were also shown once again and might release within the next month on PC. The Warframe Wisp is still in a work in progress state with more custom animations still in the works, but she will also not float when using her melee weapon. She will not be coming with a quest similar to previous frames due to the investment needed, and DE has previously and once again repeated they are investigating other means to provide lore about these characters. Rebecca also provided a description for Wisp, where she described her as the master of portals who can summon from a Wisp dimension. As for her kit, the passive makes Wisp invisible when airborne. Her first ability can place 3 varying reservoirs that provide players that go near it with a buff based on which reservoir has been placed. The buffs are health, speed, and a zapping CC effect, which can all be applied at the same time. Her second ability projects a shadow of herself that is sent in the direction you were aiming, while also taking aggro from enemies nearby. Wisp can also teleport to the shadow if recast within a specific time frame. Her third ability, if cast, can project damaging energy from any placed reservoir, with each reservoir having its own damage type. And her fourth ability opens up a portal to the sun where a beam is projected in front of the player. Pablo also expanded on Wisp's ability set on Twitter. Quick Wisp tidbits. Her 2 draws enemies to attack it. Teleporting to it blinds enemies and gives you a short invulnerability so you don't get obliterated. Her 4 deals more damage as you hit the same enemy, to help with the common scaling issues of pure damage abilities. Next up was Scott in reply to a question. He said, He is currently wanting to make the third Orb Mother fight a combination of the two current fights, And they concluded the stream with a discussion on the topic of K-Drive versus Arcwing, with the focus being more on Itzel's Blink. Now, I will play that right here because I do believe you should hear the full discussion.
We had actually a couple questions about K-driving as well. This is like the quintessential fun versus function argument, I think, right now in Warframe, because K-driving, it has a progression system.
There was an actual argument, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty intense.
Argument.
It's
Oh,
Glenn.
right. Because one of the more popular questions in the forum thread is always, are you going to change K-drives to be as fast as Arcwing? Because, fundamentally, if you have your Itzal on and you need to get from point A to point B.
I'm just going to nerf the shit out of this.
Nothing's going to be faster than this.
Yeah, like this
is...
Like
enjoy this while you can, because this is going away.
No. Is that a beer? He doesn't mean it.
He doesn't mean it.
I 100% mean this.
No.
You can quote me when I remove this, because...
Oh, I think I broke something. Sorry, guys. Sorry, Dev Build.
Yep, sorry.
That's all right. You already nerfed it.
Boom.
There you go.
With the power
See?
of the mind.
Done.
Done. Right. No, chat. We'll take a look at that after. But it is almost 3 o'clock now, so I just did want to ask about, are we going to speed up K-drives, or is it going to always just be...
We're going to end on that low note.
No, we're not ending on a low note.
Nerf it all.
It's up to
The
the...
game crashed. It's going to
Nerf it all.
But there'll be cinematic quests very soon.
Fear not. It's always up to the player to decide what is fun over function. If you want the Itzal pace, that's your choice to do that. If you want to...
Until Scott says otherwise.
Until
No,
Scott
but
says-
the problem is if you like coptering back in the day,
Yeah.
if it was very limited to a very limited piece of gear
Yeah.
that added that ability.
Yeah.
So basically, we're telling players now, if you want that speed,
Yeah.
you must take this Arcwing.
Right.
And I think that's game breaking, and I think that removes choice from the game, and I think
Interesting.
that it shouldn't be the only be all end all that we say. Like, if you want movement speed that we're requiring in the game, you have to take this Arcwing. I think that's terrible. So eventually, that's going away.
I will. Steve.
Yeah.
Let's do a flat price.
Who wants Equinox Prime? Cheer in chat if you want Equinox Prime.
No.
Remember
Well,
Platt.
I think if players like transparency, so if you want to be on the inside of our arguments, this is kind of the argument we're having.
Well, we haven't had this conversation with the dev team yet.
Yeah, so
And of which Scott is a member. He's a card-holding member. I think some of the problems are it still feels required when you have an open world with only one exit point. And so I think that if we were going to do that, or when we were going to do that, I think we also need to solve some of the problems of getting a bounty and having to traverse with nothing to do for long periods of time.
Sure.
And so other games, I think we'd have to pair some limitations with some more flexibility.
yeah, this is
When we did Valis, our original design was you'd be able to merge at different points.
right.
And we never accomplished that goal. So so there you go. There's mom and dad's view. So.
All right, so chat is saying rest in peace. It's all right. That is not the takeaway right now. It's you are like a wrecking.
Kind of seems like the
It's
takeaway.
beer.
True.
The beer was a. No, I know.
You don't disagree with me.
It's all died for you, Boobin. There you go. That's going to be the meme now. But no, that's not the case. We will be going over the conversations that we have internally about this.
Now, after this was said in the stream, the community did share their concerns, but Scott did reply to a number of them, which read, "Instead of nerfing things that are popular, buff other options, make it a contest. The mentality of nerf this to lower the bar needs to go, buff what doesn't compare. I don't even agree with Scott's reasoning, but I don't agree with the conclusion. I'm not going to attack you for spitballing on a dev stream, it's the whole point of it. But please don't nerf this damn thing. It sets a bad tone for everything else that's popular or good." Where Scott replied, "Like Bullet Jump emerged from coptering, we will look for systemic change that won't limit player choice to one Arcwing." Another player said, "Hey, the only problem with K-drives is the speed mods don't stack. We all expect to get double gains, and as such, standing grinding for them felt wasted. I think most players would be happy if they started affecting each other properly instead of a separate stat." Where Scott replied, "Hey, we can have a look at that." Scott also made an individual tweet, "Really great discussion about the state or Arcwing has come from my desire to nerf Blink. Arcwing is a big part of Railjack. Arcwing will go under major changes with Railjack. Please keep the conversation civil and I will read as much as I can. The desire is to lift the whole." Where one player replied, Oh come on, it's not like only Itzel is better transport than K-Drives. You would need to nerf Void Dash, Wormhole, even regular bullet jumping is more viable than K-Drives. Where Scott replied, thanks for the list, makes my life easier, now where is my bat? Another player replied, maybe just adding a short cooldown of the ability would suffice. I love Itzel as it currently is. Scott replied, maybe that's enough. His final reply was to a player saying, I cannot see an outcome to this discussion that does not result in some sort of Archwing total ability overhaul. The fact that only one Archwing has a movement ability seems in retrospect like a tremendous oversight, and simply nerfing one is punishing it for succeeding. Where Scott's reply was, product of a different time, before open worlds. And that does conclude DevStream 126's information. I will now move on to the information shared within Magamu's interview with Rebecca and Steve. First things first, the Ordis quest is still planned. There is a work-in-progress PvP game mode that is not combat-oriented floating around, but it's just an idea. The Flight-Alon will be a part of the Corpus Gas City remaster. In response to a question about the Kingpin system, Steve said that the team couldn't get something they liked and they are now focused on Railjack. Rebecca discussed the current meta of the game and commented that Vauban, as mentioned beforehand, Ember and Wukong are 3 likely frames to see a review this year. Steve hopes scaling for enemies and players can be looked at and acted upon this year, with possible difficulty settings of sorts. They have 2 and possibly 3 bosses in the works with similar prospects to the Exploiter Orb fight. There are 2 male Warframes in the works, with one of them being mentioned as a runner. The most sign-ups in Warframe history was TennoCon 2018. They don't want to do open world after open world, and they want to mix it up. They do playtest the game before release, but their team doesn't have the same effect as the whole player base engaging on an update at once. Steve also said that with Railjack there will be a surprise and will lean more towards anime and Robotech, similar to the base game, rather than it being a space simulator, and further expanded by explaining their experiences on keeping players invested and interested in the system by keeping them occupied with things to do in space. An example was entering the ships and shooting the rocks, as space by itself is dry compared to the usual pace of Warframe. Steve also shared how he would plan the game out today if he had to start it all over again, with the knowledge and experience he has garnered over the years, explaining how he would set a timeline on cinematic quests with equality and leading up to the second dream, so players have a taste of the lore and universe straight off the bat. His other changes would be to the UI, modding, and the first 10 hours of the game, and everything would be seamless transitions between missions and intermissions. They also shared their thoughts on Warframe on multiple launches and platforms, how they would describe and compare Warframe, how long they think Warframe would last, the possibility of crossplay, monetization, Steve's original plans for mod packs, monetization being tied to internal developer decisions, their philosophy on free-to-play retention, new players versus veteran players, small events versus big events, and the Nightwave system. I do suggest you watch all of Magamu's interviews. They are very insightful and they are very interesting. Next was the comments made by DE Helen on the PS4 at 4 stream, where she said the pet skins for the contest that had run has been completed, and we can expect them soon, but the operator masks have yet to be worked on. Now we go into update territory. Now I have individual videos on these updates and hotfixes, so I do suggest you watch all of them because I will only be giving a brief rundown. First off, Equinox Prime is live with hotfix 24.5.8 and 5.8.1. 5.8.1 also released changes to the Riven dispositions. They have been updated for primary and secondary weapons, with melee changes to disposition occurring when Melee 3.0 is completed. The Plains of Eidolon Remaster Update 24.6. So that remaster is live with the Thumper enemies, the conservation system in the Plains of Eidolon, a new melee weapon, two-tone energy color, casting abilities in air for Trinity's Link, Frost Avalanche, Mag's Crush, Atlas Tectonics, Loki's Radial Disarm, Rhino's Stomp with it redirecting you down to the ground, additions of weapon synergy with certain warframes, general weapon changes, many changes and fixes. Once again, I do have a long video covering that topic. Also, there was the Plains of Eidolon Economy Remaster. We did get a developer workshop on that prior to its release. The same goes for the Riven disposition changes. and the air-to-ground attacks being implemented. Now, in reply to the Reddit post about the Planes of Eidolon remaster economy changes, Rebecca said that they have no major compensation plans right now. Now, also, D.E. Taylor did state on Twitter that you can only get the two-tone energy color on Cyan Danas if the Warframe that you have equipped has been formed. We also had hotfix 24.6.1 and 6.2. Also announced last week was the retirement of the Guides of the Lotus program, the implementation of a new official Warframe Discord server, and DE's thoughts on chat moderation, all of which have videos on their own. Now moving on to individual replies. DE Bear during the week replied to a post that was titled Alleged Bans Due to Using Reshade or Similar Injectors, where Bear replied, Steve's post from 2013 is still valid. We have never banned for reshade or sweet effects. If you find yourself in a state where you have lost access to your account, please make a ticket. We should mention that using any kind of software to modify game files has an inherent risk to it, of course, because people often try and sneak around with injectors for malicious things. Now, Xbox One, PlayStation 4, and Nintendo Switch also got Equinox Prime because that's how it works, and you also have patch notes for that. So if you guys do want to read through them, they are in the description just like everything else. Now, for April Fools this year, we did have Path of Warframe, The Quest for the Average Neck, where it was a crossover between Path of Exile and Warframe. So if you do want to read through the April Fool's post for this year, I'll leave a link to that in the description down below. Now, something I failed to mention in my actual update 24.6 video was the new system for landing craft interior decorations. So when you log into the game, you may have realized that your Christmas decorations are no longer there. You can re-equip them by going into your ship decorations, equipment, landing craft, interior, and you can select it from there. Now, there will also be a Spring Festival interior decorations coming this Easter, according to what we've seen in this screenshot by DE Megan. Megan also commented that the Deconstructing podcast episode planned to be released on April 1st was pushed back till May 1st. Now, she has also asked for sound-related questions. If you do want to hear about them, make sure to ask her. Anyway, that does conclude this episode of Last Week in Warframe. If you found the video informative, make sure to leave a like. If you think I can improve upon the series in any way, shape, or form, make sure to leave it in the comment section down below. And if you want the glyphs, they are up on your screen. You can chuck them into the promo code section on the Warframe website. It'll get you the glyph. Thank you for watching this episode. If you missed out on last week's episode, make sure to click the annotation on the screen. It'll take you right to it. Bye.